Hello, my lovely. You didn't get to where you are in your business by doing shit the way that everybody else does. And you know that what got you to where you are now is not going to take you to where you want to go. If you're listening to this podcast, it's because you're a female coach with late diagnosed ADHD who is done following a map that was not drawn for your brain wiring. You are ready to close your self-trust gap, simplify your business ruthlessly, and build a business that finally makes sense to the way your brain actually thinks. Your unrepeatable stack of genius is your edge. That technicolor, hyper-focusing, pattern recognizing, never stop thinking ADHD-ass brain of yours is not a problem. It never was. That's the whole point. Being you, that bold, unfuckwithable presence that you have secretly been craving to fully set free, she's in there, and attracting your fuck yes dreamy clients will also repel those who are not for you. Fucking hooray. That is the point. What I know is that avoiding visibility is not a confidence problem. It's a self-trust gap symptom. When you close the gap, you stop hiding, you stop shrinking, you stop second guessing whether you're allowed to take up room because you know the answer is fuck yes. Becoming a force of nature, business and brand means no more Miss People Pleaser, no more hiding that beautiful turbo brain, no more dimming down jack shit. And if you have ever been told to tone it down as a woman with later life diagnosed ADHD, it is time to tone your shit all the way the fuck back up. That is how you create unstoppable momentum in your business. That is how you become known and build a reputation. This podcast is about closing your gap, simplifying everything that was not meant for your brain, and building the kind of fuck you money that compounds over time. Watering down anything never changed the world. And you were not born to be forgettable. As one of my all-time favorite quotes says, well-behaved women rarely make history, and nothing about you or me is well-behaved. At least, not anymore. In today's episode, we are going to pick back up on last week's story, except for me, it's 20 minutes later, and I'm wearing the same Amos Lee t-shirt. I always wear concert t-shirts. It's kind of like my signature thing because I have so fucking many. Anyway, I walked you through last week what I did to turn off the noise to hear myself again, to kind of come back home to myself by putting these blinders on for 6 months. Before I continue the story, though, if you are done working with coaches in the normie business coaching industry and you want to talk to someone who just gets you like a fellow ADHD friend, like how we speak our own language, like that. So book your free 30-minute clarity call with me. It's not a coaching call. This is a fact-finding call to see where your business is at, what isn't feeling like it's working for you, for your brain, what business growth looks like, ADHD friendly, and what doesn't work for you anymore, and your self-trust gap if you happen to experience that. I am also a specialist. I work with coaches with late diagnosed ADHD. You are my specialty. You are all I work with day in and day out, and who better to help you than someone with a brain like yours? So DM me on Instagram at Carry Out Loud, or you can apply to work with me directly. If you DM me, just say chat podcast so I know where you heard it. And be sure to hop onto my newsletter exclusively for female founders with late diagnosed ADHD. Tell a friend. All of those links are also in the show notes. So that is all. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's pick it back up here. Somewhere in the 6-month time frame, I made a decision that I wouldn't have made a lot further down the road if the blinders were not on. Jokingly, I call it my world famous 90-minute deep dive. That's the entry point into my business, with the exception of any digital courses that I have, right? Speaking of which, I just launched my self-trust rebuilder bundle. It's called Deconstructed and Dangerous. It's fucking phenomenal. I
still look at it and can't believe my own brain put this together. But what happened was I had 100% of my clients coming to me saying, at some point they thought they had imposter syndrome. And as I was looking at what was really going on, they had a gap in self-trust because they either just recently found out they had ADHD and they're running a business, or they suspect it, right? They're in some process of getting to understand it, right? So these women come to me like that. I made my world famous 90-minute business deep dive the entry point to my business. Now I do have digital courses. Actually, course. I just created a brand new one. If you struggle with your own self-trust gap and you know it's not imposter syndrome, but you just don't have the language for it, you're going to want to grab this course. This is not just something you can buy off the internet from anyone else or get inside of ChatGPT. This is a pattern that I recognized and then walked my clients through healing or repairing with themselves. And it was something that I realized was repeatable, and I actually was able to put it into a program. So all of the core information on how to start rebuilding your self-trust, if you're feeling this way, you're going to want to go grab my self-trust rebuilder bundle. It is called Deconstructed and Dangerous. And I will put the link for that in the show notes. It's a short 7 days of audio, and then it has the full program drop on day 8. Everything is short and bite-sized, but very, very powerful and poignant. And this really helps you see where you are not trusting yourself. And then you start to repair that relationship with you. So go check it out. It's really fucking fabulous. And I am so excited for you to get your hands on it. So what I want to bring back to is this deep dive here. I want you to understand why it was a departure. Before this, the entry point was into the Neurospicy Sisterhood. That's my mastermind exclusively for late diagnosed ADHD women, neurodivergent women, right? My clients would come in, I would get to know their business a little bit along the way as it went. And it was over time, call by call, session by session. And my clients were getting some results and good results and real results, tangible ones. But I knew for a fact, somewhere way deep in my gut that I had started listening to again, I knew I could get them bigger results. Or at the very least, help them get where they're going faster than I was. I just was trying to connect the dots. Like, how do I do this? I'm a manifesting generator with a 3-line. That means I'm supposed to basically try shit out, fail, succeed, and then bring those details to the masses and teach it in a way that's easy for people to understand. I'm supposed to like translate that, right? So I'm literally here to help my clients bend fucking time with my 27 years of experience and my personal knowledge. So I knew I could get them results that were actually personalized to their business, to their brain, make sure they had an unrepeatable genius positioning by, instead of niching down, we're marrying all of their skills to find a unique positioning that is going to stick out to their client like a sore thumb, and based on all of their history and experience, marrying some of that together. But I realized what I couldn't do was do this in parts, in pieces. I needed to see the full picture. I needed all of the facts. I needed to see the whole thing so I could see where their business gaps were and their self-trust gaps were. And before this, I was in other programs where all it was group coaching, no intake form to understand your business. You just come in and the coach starts coaching you, and you and the coach start building context. I didn't want to do that, right? I wanted this full picture. And so I wanted to give them support, the women who hired me, in closing this gap while simplifying everything and in a way where they don't lose their revenue, right? As we're putting this more simplified structure underneath, whether we're doing it for the first time or rebuilding it to fit where they are today, I want to help them do that and close the gap so that they don't lose revenue. So they're growing their revenue while they're in this process, right? What I realized was the normie business coaching industry version that I was seeing was surface level. A little bit here, a little bit there. Not a lot of energy by the coaches, by the way. When you're doing just a little bit here, a little bit there, not bagging on other coaches. But if that's all that's going on, and you're not actually getting to know your clients in depth, I don't know how they'll stick around for the longer term. That's me. I like referrals. I love networking. I feel like those are some of the most untapped resources in your fucking business. It's why I'm a super connector. I like to meet people in different industries to have those connections. They're important, right? But I just kept seeing surface level everywhere. I don't do surface level shit. I never have. I never will. It's not my design. Truly, it's not the way that I function in the world outside of my business. My brain will see the entire chessboard. Then my brain will match patterns with my 27 years of business experience. And it kind of does that in real time as I'm reading someone's intake form and I'm taking it in, because I read it once through and then I read it again a second time and then I read it again a third time. And then I put certain details into Claude to like organize them so they look nice. Take out the M dashes because I fucking hate all the M dashes, and have it help me organize. But all the ideas that I give them are mine. They're all mine. And so what happens is I stopped looking at what other coaches were doing for their entry points or how they delivered their program. You know, you hear it every day. Courses are dead. Group programs are dead. One-on-one coaching is dead. This is dead. That's dead. You know, we hear that. I ask myself, what do you want, Carrie? What do you want and how do you want to deliver it? What is the work that I am scared to get paid the most for because it comes naturally to me? Right? That's what I started thinking. The deep dive, which had been glorious for so many of my clients, was the answer. It was the answer. And I plunked it into the sisterhood, and I plunked it into a offer in and of itself that if you invest in it and you decide you want to come in the sisterhood or one-on-one coaching, I protect your investment. So it will roll over into either of those programs, right? I mean, and it's like, it can't lose. My clients can't lose. So this is how I help my clients who have these businesses that feel really chaotic, make them more sustainable so that their income is, you know, nice and steady and growing, right? And we're heading towards seven figures or even at that without feeling like they have to burn their whole fucking life down in the process. That's not burning everything down every 6 months is literally does not have to be part of your business plan. It really, really doesn't, especially if you're newly diagnosed with ADHD or it's just coming onto your radar. If that's you, you're for sure one of mine. So definitely hit the follow button in you know, wherever you're listening, because you're want to come back every Wednesday. But hear me, I could not make the decision about my deep dive if I was still watching what everybody else was doing. I had to have my own blinders on. And I realized that was self-trust in action, right? Because I can understand I lack self-trust and not do shit about it. That's always an option. We always have choices. Not always a great choice, but sometimes it's two shitty choices, but we still have choices, right? We have to choose to act. Now, what I didn't realize at the time that I have realized recently was that I had this gap in my self-trust. I didn't have the language for what was happening. I was just doing this work. And what I mean by this work was muting, listening to myself, making these tiny micro decisions from my own gut, my own knowing. Those were compounding over time. I was starting to feel more comfortable about making my own decisions and choices and how I wanted to run my business. And I wanted to do it from the inside out instead of being triggered by something from the outside in. I wanted it to be the other way around. That is thought leadership, not followership, right? The fun thing that happened was last year, I started noticing something in my clients once I implemented this deep dive as the entry point. I would see a very distinct switch flip in the client within the first 3-ish months of working together. Now, let me explain. In this deep dive that comes when you come into the sisterhood, you get 30 days of Voxer with me. The first 30 days are probably the most intensive because we're either resetting your foundation or we're making one for the first time ever. Okay. So that's going to be the most intensive time that we have together. But also in the sisterhood, you have what I call red phone calls, which means if there's any sticking point where our Telegram chat is not going to cut it, I will say, do you want to book one of your red phone calls? There's 2 in the 6 months or 4 if you do 12 months, right? And every once in a while, I'll even throw a bonus one in. Why? Because I want my clients to have the support that they need. And the way that my manifesting generator fucking Ferrari brain with bicycle brakes works, it works really well the way that I work with my clients right now. And so I see this switch flip in them and I'm like, what is this? All of a sudden they have different confidence. They come into a session and instead of saying, is this a good idea? They say, I have an idea and I want to get your opinion on this. I want you to read this copy and I want you to help me execute a marketing plan. Ooh, that is a huge difference. It is a huge difference. It goes from, is this a good idea, which is seeking permission or validation, to help me refine this and seeking nuance or knowledge you don't have yet. The first is the self-trust gap. That's what she looks like. And the second one is what it looks like to close it while you're scaling for growth. So I was seeing this with each client, and it would look like in their content. Their captions and their hooks would go from wishy-washy language that sounds like some other coaches on the internet, right? To language that actually sounds like them, their voice, the way they talk to me on a coaching call, the way they actually say things in the DMs, the way they are behind the scenes when I work with them. It's not a persona. Any kind of persona that was there melts away. Ooh, it's so cool. I see it in their pricing. I would suggest raising a rate and they would be like, no. And then all of a sudden they'd be like, yes, but I just want to test it. So I go, great, let's test it. They'd increase it. They'd get 2 or 3 sales the next day at that new price and go, oh, and on we go. Or they would just raise them and tell me after the fact and I would just note it and we're done, right? And we discussed strategy, not permission, strategy. The one that makes me laugh the most, smile the most, from my fucking heart, is not something visual, actually. It's something you hear. When a lot of my clients who work with me will start a podcast, not because it's a requirement, but they know I do it and that I get a lot of great human beings coming into my world and they have maybe been podcast curious. So we will help them put together a podcast and just to get it started because you just want to get it started. You want to get it out there. That's what I did. I didn't know where it was going to go. Had no fucking clue that I would be almost, to episode 200. No idea. Right. But I got it started. So they're doing it and it's definitely helping a lot of their businesses and they look at it as a freebie, which it is. So they are getting more trust more quickly by people who find them because they have this kind of longer form available, right? It doesn't have to have a ton of listens every week. You have the similar numbers over and over again with slight increases over time. It really does pay you back. So here's what's fun though. They will start this podcast and record their intro and outro. And it sounds like this very bright voice that's a podcaster, how they think a podcaster is supposed to sound, right? Professional, polished, slightly not them, that kind of thing. And then somewhere along the way, the switch flips and they re-record it because sometimes they'll rename it because then they have an idea of what it's shaping up to be. So they'll rename it. And that's fantastic, right? And then suddenly I'll listen and the intro will sound like them. It'll be their cadence, their fearlessness, their sweariness, their feralness, their laugh, their pauses, their actual fucking voice. And that shit is magical to behold every time. It never gets old. It never gets old. It's the best. So it's like magic every time I see it. And I'm like, wait, this has a name. This has a name. I was talking with a client and I said, you have a gap in your trusting of yourself. Because she's like, I have imposter syndrome. And I'm like, no, you don't. You'll walk into any room and do what you fucking got to do. That ain't it. That's not imposter syndrome. That's fear. Okay. But what I am talking about is this gap. And I stopped because I really saw it. She was not suffering from imposter syndrome. She believed in herself. She knew she was good at what she did. She knew her work mattered. The problem wasn't that she doubted her worth. The problem was that small voice way deep down. The asshole brain gremlins who try to undermine everything she does with negativity 24/7, 365. And it won't shut the fuck up. Ask me how I know. Oh, my Lord have mercy. That was me. In my business, it is no longer here. I have fear. I have nerves, but it is definitely not, I suck. I don't belong here. I shouldn't be in this room, blah, blah, blah. That's not imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is, I don't deserve to be here. I'm not worthy. We don't think that. The self-trust gap, that's what it is. I do not know if I can trust what I decide. That is a different wound or a different scar or a different voice. That is a different kind of support that you need that neurotypicals aren't going to give you. And nobody else really knows about this because I made up the term self-trust gap from words that just came out of my own mouth. So every late diagnosed woman I have worked with in the last 3 years plus since I came over to working with neurodivergent women, we're calling it the wrong thing. Every last one of them. And so that is the switch I was seeing flip, because what I was doing was using some of my life coaching skills and some of my business coaching and mentorship and consulting, right? So it looks different because life coaching is a different style of coaching, and I'm not shoving answers and solutions at you. I ask you things in a different way. It's more of the teach you how to fish portion of the program. And then the business coaching, the nuance, that's like the show you how to fish, have you fish while I watch. Like I fish, I watch you, you watch me, and then off you go, right? For that particular skill. That's how I help my clients. That's why they feel so empowered when they work with me, is because of that. They get a different kind of support. Now, let's talk about my gap I mentioned for a moment. It's April 2026. I have closed this gap in my own business. I fully trust myself. I see clearly how I know what I'm doing. I've been in room after room after room now where I realize I know as much or more as the person leading. I no longer need to feel like I'm here to catch up or that I'm behind. None of that shit is true. I know my shit, full stop. Not in an arrogant way, but in my clients' business trajectories change kind of way after working with me. There's proof. I have clients who will gladly speak to my new clients because they trust me. You know, I love to have people ask for referrals. I have no problem with that. Why? Because I know what I do helps my people, right? Being able to say this, even I think a year ago, would not have been here. No way. I'm always learning and growing. My clients are stretching me always, and it's great. They stretch me as a mentor. It makes me better. I will always be a student of business until the day I fucking die, because I love this work, but I do not question whether I know what I'm doing anymore. I have 27 years of practical experience, and I've been in the online arena for 7. I don't need to wonder that part anymore. So in my business, that is good to go. However, personally, as a human being in my day-to-day life, day in and day out, of course, I still struggle with this. It's 52 years, all my childhood and my adulthood, that I am deconstructing, which is why I named this program Deconstructed and Dangerous. The 3 phases are deconstruct, reconstruct, become dangerous, right? Because you're clearing up this gap and you're helping yourself heal from this feeling of anger or rage or sadness or frustration, or whatever it is. When I realized that this was happening for all of them and why, I knew that I got here because I put my blinders on all the way back then and started tapping into my own fucking instinct, muting the noise, listening to myself, making decisions from my own knowing for 6 months, small decision after small decision, asking for help with nuance, watching it happen for my clients. That was a fun surprise. Now I just expect it to happen because it does. And it is why I do what I do. And I want you to have it. I want you to have it. So here's what I actually want you to do with all of this. If you're listening to this and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, that's me. Take a deep breath. And when you exhale, I want you to sigh. Just let it out like, oh gosh. Because your understanding of this gap is the first piece to close it. You have a name for it now. You have language for it now. You cannot tame what you can't name. You cannot heal something that you don't know what to call it. Before you close this episode, I want you to do 2 things this week, not eventually or when you feel like it, this week. 1, open Instagram right now and mute or unfollow. Mute the first 3 accounts that come up in your feed that make you feel envy, jealousy, shame, or shitty about yourself in any way, shape, or form. I don't care if they are your best friends. I know I'm hardcore, frying pan of love. I don't care if they're a coach you love. I don't care if they're your coach. You're in the same industry. I don't care if you are convinced you need to keep watching them to stay in the know. Mute them. That's crap. Do it for the rest of this month. You can do that. Actually, do it for 30 days. Mute him and then notice what happens to the noise in your head about your business specifically. With those 3 voices out of it, see what happens. 2, grab a notebook, go to your notes app. I don't care, whatever your brain prefers. And for the next 7 days, every time you catch yourself asking someone, a friend, a coach, Facebook group, AI, anyone, is this a good idea? I want you to stop and I want you to write it down. Just that question and what the idea was. At the end of the week, look at the list. Every single one of those is a place your self-trust gap is showing up in your life. And once you can see it, you can start closing it. You don't have anything to fix. You just have to see this pattern. It's time to change it. That's the whole assignment. And when you are really ready for this rebuild, if you want to start this now, I built this signature self-trust rebuilder bundle because I want this for coaches with late diagnosed ADHD to have this in their hands and not have to be face-to-face with me if that's not something that they want to do. Or you want to see how I do things. You want to see the way that I work. This is going to walk you through how to actually close the gap. And I'm not talking about like theoretical. This will be about how it shows up in your business, your content, your pricing, your decisions, your voice. It's self-paced. It's exactly what I would teach a client who came into me today and said, Carrie, I think I have imposter syndrome. This is exactly what I would be handing them instead. And I don't, if they tell me they don't know where to start, I don't gatekeep anything. This program has all the information in it. All of the things that I helped my other clients do that got them there, all laid out in front of you. Also, because I did it myself, right? So it's the same pattern that I saw over and over and over again that was repeatable. And I knew I could get this into your hands. So when you grab this, it's all yours. It includes any updates and upgrades. It's a one-time payment. The link is in the show notes, or you can go over to Instagram and DM me the word dangerous at Carry Out Loud, and my sweet little fembot will send you the link for instant access if you'd rather talk to me directly about it, have questions, or have questions about my mastermind or working one-on-one together. Book your free clarity call, get the conversation started. That link is in the show notes too. Either way, you are not stuck. You never were. You have just been calling this thing by the wrong name, and we're cleaning that up and taking care of the right thing. And again, not because anything is broken, but because this gap shows up in all areas of your life. When you start helping yourself clear it out in one area, it is going to permeate into others. Again, another pattern that I noticed. So go grab it. Go put your blinders on. Go rebuild that relationship with the most important person in your life, who you are with on the day you're born and your last day on this planet. It's the one in the mirror. And with that, I am going to end today's episode. Let me double dog dare you to DM me at Carry Out Loud on Instagram. I actually use double dog dares in my coaching. My clients think it's hilarious, but guess what happens? They do the thing because it's a double dog dare. So I want you to tell me the number one thing in your business that feels like it's keeping you stuck. Like, is it yourself? Are you in your own fucking way? Or are there things in your business that are overly complicated? Do you feel like you lack self-trust, imposter syndrome? You're not sure, what it is, how it shows up. Tell me which episode you listened to and that you saw yourself in my story, and send it. I read every single one and I respond personally. Until next time, I see you. I love you. Again, blinders on, blinders on. It really fucking helps. Okay. I'm rooting for you always. Stay feral, you badass motherfucker. Okay, bye. Oh, hey, you're still here. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Be sure to check out the show notes for all the ways to follow me. And of course, my goal is to find and help as many women with ADHD get away from the 9-to-5 grind, because it's just not designed for our neurospicy brilliance, and there are other ways to do life. So by subscribing, sharing, and giving a 5-star review, it helps other women find this podcast as well. And if there's an episode you really love, please feel free to take a screenshot and share it on your social and tag me in it so that I can thank you personally. Until next time, you spicy brained unicorn. Bye.